The Casey Ingram Show broadcasts from the heart of the Manatee Pocket, atop the Fish House District and Marina, Port Salerno's hidden gem. Now here's Casey Ingram Unleashed.
Sitting in the shadows, Ingram calls the shots, speaking truth to power where the rebels lost. Voices rising, anger crackles through the air. Casey's been unleashed, raising hell without a care.
You know, lately I've been hearing a lot of outrage, mostly from the political left, about President Trump eliminating federal jobs. And let me get started by saying this. I genuinely feel bad for anyone who loses their job. I mean that sincerely. I understand better than some might think what it feels like to unexpectedly lose your job. The stress, the uncertainty, the feeling of being blindsided, I've seen it firsthand. It's painful, and no one should dismiss that human cost lightly. But here's the thing that gets me. Why is it such a national crisis when it happens in the public sector, yet completely ignored when it happens in the private sector? One of my own family members went through this twice in 8 years, during company buyouts and mergers. No cause, no notice, just, sorry, we're restructuring, good luck out there. And you know what? Nobody gave a rip. There wasn't a protest, there wasn't outraged politicians rushing to save those jobs. It's just standard practice in corporate America. It's called efficiency. So here's my question. Why aren't we demanding that same level of efficiency from our government? Why aren't we outraged that the government, funded by our tax dollars, is bloated with unnecessary jobs? Think about it. Government employees often get better salaries, better benefits, and retirement packages that most people in the private sector can only dream about. Meanwhile, the people footing the bill, you and me, are scraping by, watching our taxes go up, while these bureaucracies keep growing. And let's get something straight. The government's job isn't to be the nation's largest employer. It's not supposed to exist just to provide paychecks. The government is supposed to serve us to ensure fair laws, uphold regulations, and help create a better, more stable society. That's it. Yet here we are, with a government that's become the largest employer in the country. That's not efficiency, that's unsustainable. Now I hear some people saying, but what about cancer research? What about life-saving breakthroughs? And I get it, medical research is important, but let's not pretend that cutting federal jobs will suddenly stop scientific progress in its tracks. That's why we have patents. Private companies invest billions into research, and patents allow them to recoup those costs after taking on the financial risk of innovation. That's how free enterprise works. Risk, reward, and competition drive progress far faster than a bloated bureaucracies ever could. And if we're being honest, wouldn't it be interesting to take a closer look at all those government research grants? I'd love to see who's really getting those billions of taxpayer dollars. Are they the ones doing groundbreaking research, or are they the ones with the best political connections? That's a conversation worth having. So before we jump in to defend every single government job, maybe it's time we ask a few tough questions. Is the system efficient? Is it sustainable? And most importantly, is it actually serving the people it's supposed to help, or just creating another layer of dependency and waste? Efficiency isn't heartless, it's necessary. And until we hold our government to the same standard as the private sector, we're just throwing good money after bad and asking taxpayers to foot the bill for it. Today, I have in the studio, welcome to my first Rumble, I have Eric Miller. And Eric Miller, you are a repeat guest and one of the brightest people here in Martin County. A lot of fun. You truly are well researched, and we're going to talk a lot about DOGE. My guest today, Eric, served 10 years as Martin County Republican Party Precinct Committeeman. During the term, he was elected countywide twice as the Republican State Committeeman of Martin County. While serving 2 years on the Republican Party of Florida, he was elected to and served as Vice Chairman of CD18 Caucus, Chairman of the RPOF, Republican Party of Florida Technology Committee, and Chairman of the RPOF Platform Committee. He also ran against Charlie Crist, handpicked chairman of the RPOF, Jim Greer, who ended up in prison for several party-related crimes and violations. While serving, Eric's efforts assisted in exposing corruption within the RPOF. While serving locally, Eric participated in Operation Iron Claw. Iron Claw was a write-in candidate or campaign designed to bring opposition and awareness to the constitutional offices in Martin County. Eric also served as National Treasurer of the Republican Liberty Caucus. He has worked at national, state, and local levels with leadership roles in Republican campaigns. Among them are Deputy Florida Communications Director of the Treasure Coast and Palm Beaches for the campaign to elect Duncan Hunter and Martin County Chairman for Herman Cain for the presidential campaign, as well as many other local campaigns. Locally, Eric has served as Vice Chairman of the Department of Juvenile Justice Council of Martin County. He was President for 8 years of Mothers Against Drunk Driving of Martin and St. Lucie counties. He also participated in the Children's Service Council on behalf of MAD. He served on the Palm Beach County School District Technology Advisory Committee and was steering committee member of the Shared Services Network in Martin County. Eric has received the Jupiter Tequesta Chamber of Commerce Businessman of the Year Award, as well as 2 Volunteer of the Year Awards from Martin County Boys and Girls Clubs, East Stewart, and Indiantown, respectively. Eric established the first technology center in Indiantown for the Boys and Girls Club. He and his wife founded Computers for Kids and were able, through philanthropic effort, get over 125 computers, printers, and internet accounts to underprivileged children in Martin County. Eric and his wife Cindy founded On-Site Computer Centers and sold the company as well as their cloud computing company in 2010. Since then, Eric has built a self-sustainable 5-acre homestead in Indiantown. Finally, Eric has a degree in computer science, and having served in the United States Army Airborne Infantry, Eric now serves as commander of the Indiantown Veterans Association. Hoo-wah!
Wow.
Well, there's one more sentence. Eric's political and life musings can be read at nomoremrniceguy.com. And here we have Eric.
Thank you. Sitting through that for 5 minutes was a little much. I didn't realize that I had actually done that much. I know that there's a lot of things on there that are going to fit right into what we're talking about today, though, and that's getting our house in order.
Boy, do we ever need to get our house in order. And Eric, did you watch the presidential address last night?
Oh, did I watch it? I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
I know it, folks. We're going to be talking about DOGE, and in a minute I'll talk about what the president, we have a clip of him talking about the DOGE cuts that they've done already, but there's so much going on, folks. And, you know, when DOGE first came out, first thing I said, and Eric said, and so many of us is like, whoa, we need DOGE expanded. This needs to go to state, this needs to go to county, this needs to go to city levels. And,
Yep.
you know, last week, you know what happened with the state of Florida?
Yeah, I have that same thing right here. It's wonderful. The governor has said that he's going to initiate a DOGE program using artificial intelligence and open source financial information for the state of Florida and for the counties. And that being said, as long as we're going to talk about the governor, Mr. Governor, I think my bio speaks to itself. I helped run Charlie Crist out of office and helped put Jim Greer, then chairman of the RPOF, into prison for malfeasance. And I've chased another few rascals around town a couple of times too. And I think if you were to ask Mary Lynn Magar, or if you were to ask any of the other people involved with the then Martin County Republican Executive Committee, they would label me as a disruptor. I am a political disruptor, and that's what we need right now is disruption. Just a cursory view on a day and a half of just looking at a 589-page budget and some ideas, and knowing what I know through my volunteer services and my activities through the community, I think I'd make a great leadership point for the county to be able to get in there. And if we can't get the governor's appointment, I'm hoping that there is a county commissioner with enough cojones that will say, if Mr. Miller wants you to produce some information, please get it for him.
Amen. Amen. I hope our county commissioners here in Martin County, absolutely, we need somebody to step up and also DOGE here. This executive order, it's 25-44. State and local governments should be efficient, effective, transparent, and responsive, should be held accountable for achieving these goals, whereas fiscal accountability is necessary to ensure good government and to minimize financial burdens on the taxpayers. Amen. Why do you think that so many people are out, liberals left in particular, are shouting, no, don't?
I think it's a lack of education. A big lack of education. I don't think people actually understand how the system is designed to work. I've always believed that there are idiots out there, and you brought to light something that I can't wait to prove that point. There are a number of people out there that don't have two brain cells to rub together because they've gotten to a point that they've been so pampered, they've been handed everything, they've been told that everything's going to be taken care of for them, and they've never had to lift a finger to do anything themselves, that they just think all this stuff magically appears out of nowhere.
Oh, and to that end, folks, so one of the pages I manage had a comment on there about it was taxpayer funding for trains. And I had to pull this conversation, and I said, Eric, you play one person, I'm going to play the other. So Eric, we're going to read this conversation to you folks. These are voters. They live amongst us. Eric's going to be somebody by the name of Emmett, and I am going to be somebody by the name of Ryan, but we're going to start the conversation with Emmett as he's replying to a post that said taxpayers shouldn't be funding private industry. In this case, it's a Brightline private train.
And they walk amongst us, folks, that this is verbatim. He says, another lie by Florida, not all aboard. Amtrak's fully funded and ran by the government of the U.S. of A. I also want to point out that Rick Scott rejected money from the government to bring the Amtrak to Florida. You need to stop the BS, lies, and misinformation.
By the government, you mean taxpayers?
Nope. It's pathetic how you idiots claim that everything is paid by the taxpayers. If everything was paid by taxpayers, then money'd be taken out of our checks for this stuff. Last I heard, the US DOT had a budget allocated that has nothing to do with taxpayers. Food stamps isn't even paid by taxpayers. Learn to do some research before posting misinformation.
Idiots. I just asked you a simple question. Where does the money the government uses come from? You seem knowledgeable, so I was just asking for some insight. Not sure why you're so upset.
And I answered you. And I'm sick and tired of idiots like you claiming everything's paid by the taxpayer. What that is so far from the truth, it's pathetic.
I asked you a question and you keep insisting on acting like a child. Where does the money the government uses come from?
An allocated budget. You and I not even involved in the budgets. Learn to do some research, moron. There is no tax that we pay to fund services like Amtrak. For us to pay taxes, there must be approval by the government, and tax rate must be created. You're crying over nothing, really. $1.5 billion on Amtrak, while the U.S. defense takes up a whopping $652 billion.
I never said tax. I said taxpayer, which implies a United States citizen in this case. To clarify, you didn't explain where the government gets the money. Allocated budget is not an answer.
I'm not crying. I asked a question, and your name calling doesn't compensate for your lack of a better argument. Oh, well, sorry about that. That's how smart I am.
But now it's Emmett again.
But again, you're crying over $1.5 billion while our defense takes up $652. Are you a moron?
I never made any stance on the subject of what you're talking about. Had to check because I nearly thought you were a troll account. Keep it classy.
So we don't, the money.
It's the government, not taxpayers.
That's right. That's right. It's the government.
And I think that's what gets me, Eric, is people actually think the government is something else that I don't know where they think they get the money, but he is a prime example of people that think government money is not taxpayer money.
Right. It's
And
amazing.
This is why we need DOGE.
Discover the Fish House District in Marina, Port Salerno's ultimate waterfront escape. Nestled in the heart of Port Salerno and the breathtaking Manatee Pocket, the Fish House District in Marina is your go-to destination for fresh seafood, craft cocktails, and an unforgettable waterfront vibe. Drop anchor at the Pearl, the district's swanky new hotspot, serving up expertly crafted drinks and the freshest catches. Explore the district, unwind by the water, and top off your experience with a scoop or two of the best ice cream in Martin County at Captain Hook's, a local favorite known for its rich, creamy flavors that keep visitors coming back for more. Feeling adventurous? Stretch and relax with aerial yoga at the OM Shack. From laid-back days to lively nights, there's something for everyone. Come see what the buzz is all about. Visit the Fish House District in Marina at 4745 Southeast DeSoto Avenue in Port Salerno, right on the Manatee Pocket, where coastal charm meets excitement.
Elon Musk was talking about how money is funneled to the NGOs, non-government organizations, to do things that are illegal that the government can't do.
Or the taxpayers would never allow. Yeah. And you see a lot of that kind of operation here in Martin County. Let me back up for a second. I think if I wanted to start this whole DOGE program, I wouldn't go at it from a vindictive or a malicious kind of attitude. I really would like to see and be able to demonstrate to the rest of Martin County how their money is really being spent. In a 589-page budget that has nice fluffy little words for each department and describes their goals and tasks and all of these wonderful things that they're going to do, is a self-made document, and it's made to and designed to hide. To keep things from you. So when we do this, we need to look at it and ask, is this money really necessary to be spent? Because, we're talking a lot of money, a whole lot of money, and it comes out of our pockets, primarily property owners within the county. So to begin with, what I would like to see, and I've asked both a school board member, and they know who they are, and I have also asked the county on numerous occasions for simple flowcharts. Give me a flowchart of the county. Show me each. Well, we can't do that. Why can't you do that? Well, we don't want to divulge our employees' information. I don't want employee information. I want a position, I want a salary, and I want to see what the job does, okay? I want to be able to look at that, because when I can see things in a hierarchical manner, I can do things like turn AI loose on it and be able to correlate it back to other crossovers in a hierarchical structure like nonprofit organizations, non-governmental organizations, public-private partnerships. Where is our local government spending money through surreptitious means? I'm not saying malicious, but surreptitious meaning it's a way to get around the approval process. And I think you'd see a lot of that and a lot of overlap with the MPOs especially. And why are we funding museums? Why are we funding operas? Why are we funding art shows? Why are we funding the arts? Why are we doing a lot of things that we're doing with taxpayer money? These are philanthropic interests that if people are philanthropic enough to want to enjoy them, they will take from their own pocket to pay for those. I can think of a certain art house gallery that's close by. Nobody's getting taxpayer donations for that gallery, right? But
all privately funded. That's exactly right.
I will guarantee you, just by looking at what I've looked at here, that we could go through this budget of the counties and eliminate positions and up to $80 million with our eyes closed, and nobody would ever notice that these programs and these people were gone, except their families that aren't going to get a paycheck and a pension anymore.
And that's just it. Martin County's budget is, this was actually pretty interesting. It's $672 million, almost $750 million is our budget. Do you know in 2021, the Martin County budget was $491 million. It's a 37% increase in 4 years, people, 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, the population in 2021 was 158,000. It's projected to be 165,000 in 2025. So our population grew by a mere 4.5%. Our budget in 4 years, 37%. It's a 569-page document. And it's absolutely, Martin County, the government is also the third largest employer here. There's so much going on, and I just, to that end, want to point out some of the things that happen. I happened to stumble across a letter that the medical examiner is looking for a pay raise. And this is the kind of things that happen here, folks, because we just went through this with other county staff level positions, county administrator, attorneys, that kind of thing. They come in and they look for a raise and they compare it to other areas, justify it as why their position needs raised, and then lo and behold, a few months later, staff says, they had a 12% raise, we should get a 12% raise, and it keeps getting larger and larger, the budget, the salaries here in Martin County. So I saw a letter come in that the medical examiner is looking for a pay raise. And that person said the need to maintain industry salary trends and recent discussions with the medical examiner, they would like an increase in our district, an increase of $127,857 per year, along with benefits driven for that salary range. Now, why did they do that? They said that District 19 serves a population of 739,000, and his salary is only $367,000. But if you compare it to the medical examiner in District 10, he covers approximately 928,000 people, performed 232 autopsies, less than a third of the ones conducted in District 19, but has a salary of $371,000. So way less autopsies, has a salary there. Another one in District 8 covers a population of 424,000, performed 440 autopsies and a salary of 510,000. So that's the one they want to compare to. The one that has 424,000 population, 440 autopsies, making a salary of 510,000. Again, we have a population of 739,000. Our medical examiners making 367,000, and they had about 900 autopsies. But you know what, Eric? They also sent some other things. District 15, 353,000, 1,123 autopsies. Remember, we have about 900 autopsies. District 9 and 25, 353,000, 1,575 autopsies. District 5 and 24, 357,000, 1,098 autopsies. And then this one's a big one, District 6, $500,000, but they have 1,800 autopsies, double ours. So we're supposed to, at 900 autopsies, and our current medical examiners paid $367,000, they're coming in and asking for $127,000 more a year. This is one position I'm talking about.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And this is the kind of thing DOGE is going to come in and look at all these different positions. Where is our money going? We taxpayers are paying for this.
Yeah, it should be opened up to the point where the taxpayer can actually go in and be able to manipulate the information or the data or download it in a manipulative manner that they can go in themselves. We should have access to the GL codes. We should know, I want a list of the GL codes for the school board, and I want a list for the school district and for the county. And with that, I can begin to apply certain relational patterns from a programmatic standpoint to let the computer sit in there and give it query that I need to produce. It's not a matter of physically going in and having to go, aha, look at that receipt, look at this receipt. It's not the old IRS auditor at a desktop table. You're taking the data that's being produced by these people and you're filtering it in your own way to quantify the outcome, not their quantifiable outcome. So, data can be massaged a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things, but I think that you'll find there's going to be a lot of overlap in positions. A lot of the people, when you go just through the 580 some page document and you start looking at position labels, there's a lot of talk about interfacing with public and other nonprofit organizations on behalf of the county for the purpose of. A lot of these programs do take place. The Shared Services Network, which I was part of for quite a while, was designed almost 2+ decades ago to try to get rid of some of that overlap. It was a DOGE effort on its own. But when you've got things like the Children's Service Council, that's still a taxable district, that is taking our tax dollars and is supposed to be the go-to Mount Olympus on all children's matters, and you don't question CSC. Okay, why do I still have programmatic dollars being spent out of general funds? Why do I have dollars being spent in other places? Why is there no coordination? Why is there not one organization? Let's put the CSC in charge of handling all of this. Everybody's got their own bright ideas. And another problem that you come to, let's get away from the dollars and cents for a second, is when you look at the relationships between these nonprofits and the elected officials. Okay, you start to get a voter base of 20 here, a voter base of 50 over here for all of the employees that work for a nonprofit, because they know that this particular commissioner is sympathetic to their cause. Unions are another area. We should have some local rules, if not state rules, where unions and any outside NGO, public-private partnership, or NPO cannot promote or endorse a candidate if their money is coming from the government. They should not be able. The firefighter, I'm sorry guys, I love you to death and I know what you're fighting for out there and I know what you're doing for us, but your stranglehold on the political chain with the union should not be allowed. You get taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry. You as fire people should have the ability to come out and say, hey, I'm Dan, a fireman, and I support, Bob Cratchit for office. But the union, I'm sorry, no, the union doesn't have a protected right, and you're getting your money from the same government that you're asking the people to put in. So there's conflict there.
It is, and that's a huge issue here in Martin County because the firefighter union gets deeply involved with who's elected on our county commission, who then votes on salary raises and budgets. So it's definitely a conflict of interest. I completely agree with you. And, using AI, we're kind of fortunate that we have AI in this day and age now because, like you said, you don't have to go in and pick on a person because you don't like them or don't like that department or anything like that. You put in a parameter of what that AI should be looking for. And you brought up nonprofits in particular. That's something here in Martin County I think we really need to delve into. We have so many nonprofits here.
We need to see where our taxpayer money is going to which of these nonprofits. And I'll tell you right now, though, an easy way we could cut $1.25 million at least, eyes closed. Let's take away the $250,000 discretionary slush fund that each commissioner has. Boom, gone.
That's a big one, folks, and that is true. They have a discretionary slush fund that they can use at their discretion in their district.
They can write checks to whoever they want. They're buying votes with tax dollars. I'm sorry, that's what it boils down to, and that's why I'm glad you read my intro and I gave you the information that I did because I have a background not only locally but nationally in these games that are being played, and it's time that people wake the hell up and figure out that they're being slapped upside the back head and quit saying thank you for it.
And we really need to look. I mean, I looked at this from the federal level, the state level, the state or the city level, county level, and the bureaucracy of the United States, it is just so fat. It shouldn't be the largest employer in the country. Our budgets are getting out of control. When I was shocked to see how much Martin County's budget increased in just, the 4 years. That's a tremendous amount. And then, by the way, in the newspaper about a week ago, it's on my Facebook page, they are coming back and going to add to that budget. There's going to be a public notice.
I saw that.
It's like, why? We already approved the budget, so we're watching that. It wasn't described very well. But
I'm ready to go down 3 more roads just on what you said there because let's take a look at these doggone bike lanes and bike paths that they're putting in, all these green stripes. How much additional work, effort, upkeep money goes out just to have these suicide lanes for bikers to go because we think we're being green? If anything in our code says the word sustainable in it or deals with sustainable development, it needs to be yanked like a bad weed from the garden and burned. It needs to go away because there is no such thing as sustainable development. That is a load of hooey that they're feeding.
It is a load of hooey.
A load.
It is a load of hooey. And when we look at Martin County, I was looking at their budget, 73% of the funding Martin County comes from property taxes, folks. You and I. There's very little that's coming in from commercial and industrial businesses. So, this $750 million budget, this is why our property taxes are so high.
Yeah.
And we got to look at where all they're being spending, and we shouldn't be picking a certain nonprofit or over another just because of a relationship you have with a commissioner. Government should not be in the business of choosing winners and losers with businesses, and I have
You
always
mean like
believed
restaurants
that.
and water parks? The same water park that they told a company not even a year prior to opening their own, they told a corporation that they could not open one on the Hobe Sound I-95 interchange. What better place for a giant water park than on I-95 and Bridge Road? In open property. They were told they couldn't do it. So what's the county do? They turn around and they go into a high density area across from the high school and they put in their own water park. Why are we running a water park and telling other corporations that they can't? Who do they think they are? Why are we running restaurants? Why do we have restaurants? That was part of the addendum that they asked for, the additional dollars.
Yes.
2 restaurant requests. There was almost $500,000 that was additional that went into that request that they wanted to funnel into a restaurant. How many restaurant owners, raise your hand, how many restaurant owners out there would like to just say, ooh, we didn't meet goal this month. Can we have some more money? We're going to need more money this year. Things are getting more expensive. Can we just have some more money? Because we got to keep running, It doesn't work that way.
And it does with our government.
It does with our government, though, doesn't it?
Thank goodness for Elon Musk and President Trump trying to, rein in this bloated bureaucracy of spending that we have. And folks, I hope you're truly worried. I'm going to flip over to the federal level for a minute here. The United States ranks number 1 in the world for gross debt. $35.3 trillion, 121% of our ratio. Number 2 is China, 16.5 trillion, little less than half. But you know what's crazy? They have about 4.5 times the population we do. When and what point here in America are we going to step up and say, we need to look out for America first? We need to cut this debt. And I'm going to play a clip right now on what President Trump said last night in his state to the country, the state of address to the country, on what DOGE is finding out so far. It's very interesting if you could play that clip.
Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I don't know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate.
You heard from President Trump himself. It's incredible the money that is being sent on such, first of all, out of this country, and secondly, crazy projects, transgender mice. I mean, this is why we need DOGE everywhere. And, you know, here in Martin County, we don't have it yet. We're going to be pushing you commissioners to...
What, are you a racist? You like transgender mice? Why? Is it because were they not white mice?
That's exactly. That's the common term now. If you don't know what else to say, you're racist.
You know, what struck me about that was just the complete... Wow. I mean, I grew up hearing about $300 bolts and $700 toilet seats and all of that through the DOD, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, I get it, blah, 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 blah. But these things are just blatant and in your face, the Social Security numbers. But how you could have elected representatives sit in a chamber and be non-responsive to the point of revolt to say that it's wrong to want to bring this type of spending in. And I think that's my point. This isn't a vindictive revolt. This is about the people getting their hands back on their system that is supposed to be there to keep the wolves at bay so that we can go do what we want to do. And I think one of the big things that I really liked about what the Don said last night was, for every new rule that a federal agency creates, they must take 10 off of the books.
Loved it.
Oh my God, that is great.
The other thing was tariff tax. Whatever you charge us, we're charging back. It's fair.
It's fair.
I like that.
And I think that it's not doing the Democrats any favors. Look, you don't have to like Donald Trump, but Donald Trump has said what he is going to do, and what he is going to do, he is doing, and what he's doing is in the best interest of all of the people in this nation. I keep hearing people like Al Green, who got escorted out for raise. I kept thinking of the Sumter moment. Is he going to whack somebody over the head with his with his cane? But you know, you look at him last night, and they interview him outside, and what does he say? Well, you know, we're going to get rid of Medicaid, and they're going to get rid of Social Security, and we've got to stop him from doing that. No one said anything about getting rid of entitlements. No one has said a word about entitlements. Okay, some Social Security payments to people that are in their 200 and 300-year-old age bracket, maybe we should consider those. But they can't even go for that. They can't stand for a child. The other side couldn't even stand for a child that had brain cancer, for God's sake.
That's what got me. It was so divided last night. The Democrats couldn't clap for anything. It was so divided. You can tell the people that voted for Trump are supporting everything Trump does. If you didn't vote for Trump, you're not going to support anything he does, even for the child that he gave a special Secret Service membership to with brain cancer. It was astounding. And I want to jump back for a second, though, to the Social Security, because that's something everybody is just on fire about on the left, is that, oh my gosh, we've given our Social Security numbers to a private individual, which we'll give it to the nurse at the doctor's office, and we give it to absolutely anybody that asks for it otherwise. But heaven forbid, the richest man in the world apparently is, or one of the richest men in the world. I think Bezos might have that title. I'm not sure anymore.
He's a government employee, so he's governed by the same kind of disclosure that any other employee was.
And to say he's trying to get our Social Security numbers for nefarious purposes is absolutely ridiculous to me.
That goes back to our conversation that Emmett and Ryan had here.
Yes.
I mean, thinking that something is what it actually is not, and that's the problem. We've lacked the education. We have to get, Amy, we have to get constitutional education hardcore back into the school system.
It's a problem when people think the government is not funded by taxpayers. There's a problem with our education system that's happening. I want to jump back to that Social Security for a minute, because it wasn't just that a lot of dead people still have Social Security numbers active and in the system that are 200, 300 years old. The problem is the check system in the federal system allows them to sign up for disability or unemployment or file other medical payments. That's where Elon Musk is saying we've got to clean this up. So even though 100% of those Social Security numbers that are active for people that clearly can't be alive, they may not be taking Social Security funds. Somebody can be using that number for something else. Unemployment, disability, and there's no check other than, oh, it's an active Social Security number, so automatically they think it's alive. This is a big deal, and that's just one issue. Mm-hmm. But there's just so much that's going on with DOGE that is going to, I think, hopefully open our eyes. And I hope that America can come together, the Democrats as well, realize we cannot sustain a $36 trillion debt. We cannot sustain it. We have the number one debt in the world, folks. How much more can we just keep giving away? And at what point do we worry about it for our children?
Well, Social Security is a perfect example. You could almost put anything in there with Social Security, and no one replace the label of Social Security, rather, is what I'm saying, and do it either at a state, national, or a local level. And no one is saying we're going to get rid of X. What we want to do is we want to clean the edges. But if we don't clean the edges, get rid of the superfluous waste, if we don't stop the fraud, we're not going to be able to have these projects that we all agree that we want, these giveaways that we all say, okay, Social Security, fine, I'm not a big fan of it, but if we're going to do it, we have to have a financial system that's in order. that the money actually
do.
exists. We're playing a Ponzi scheme with it now, and if we can clean up our own act in our own house, then we can have a viable. That's what I don't understand why people won't support something like this.
I don't
get
either.
it.
I don't either.
Really don't get it. It's so raw and partisan that if that is where our mindset as a country is at right now, I don't know what it will take to bring us back to a point of being a United States of America, because we're supposed to be one for all and all for one.
We are supposed to be all for one and one for all, and we cannot go on funding everybody in the world. And, take Ukraine, for example, right? There's another thing. He wanted to do a mineral rights deal, which it sounds like Zelensky's coming back to the table on that. But, the UK asked for a loan repayment. That's okay, but we're heartless because we're asking for mineral rights.
Right.
Folks, we've given billions and billions of dollars. That hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. The war rages on.
So you have to ask yourself, why then are all of these attacks from the left taking place? They're starting now to become so opaque and transparent, I hope, to the general public, but this has been going on for a very long time. This administrative state that we talk about, this going in and DOGE and getting rid of, was actually started under Woodrow Wilson. He initiated it. Franklin Delano Roosevelt put it on steroids. Jimmy Carter helped again with the education department. They've grown this administrative bureaucracy that people have grown into and just think that this big monster out there is out to deal out candy and checks to everybody. The people don't do any work in history. They don't learn where their nation came from, where they're at, and what's going on in the world. They bury their head in the sand because they're digitally blind. They run around with little screens in their face all the damn time, and they believe whatever they see everywhere they see it. I feel sorry for them.
We're a nation of reading headlines, and it doesn't go any deeper than that. And if you realize with the mineral rights in Ukraine, for example, then we have a vested interest. We will protect that. That's the guarantee. We are not going to let anybody come in, Russia, and take over that territory where we have those mineral rights. That's part of what that guarantee is. And, yes, I'm all for that. We should get repatriated some of the money we're putting out. Folks, my taxes are going up all the time. It's hard to pay.
I want my money back.
I do too. I want some of my money back. I mean, we can't be the world's bank.
If things are so doggone important to fund, like a museum, put a checkbox on somebody's tax return that says, I want to give $100 to this museum. Put it in the federal museum fund.
Right.
Okay. It should
then you can
be
support
option,
it.
but people aren't going to do that. Everybody says they want it, but nobody's willing to pay for it.
No.
And the ones that do pay for it, they're philanthropic to that level. God bless you. They know that they're there. This happens without government assistance all over the place, and we need to stop looking to government, especially locally. We need to rip the Sustainable Development Goals completely out of every document that we have. We need to get off of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, shut down the CRA, stop with these special class taxing districts, and I don't want to hear about all the great benefits that come from it and people councils and everything else. The 5 people that are involved in Hobe Sound are probably the top 5 most educated politically, And there's another base of people that you get for votes. And how many administrative staff are we paying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, plus benefits, plus retirement, plus vehicle, plus gas, plus everything else, and meal cards and a cell phone to facilitate the CRAs? For what? Things that we could have done if we had gotten rid of all of these other superfluous projects.
And that's absolutely right. And I pulled some of those figures you're talking about, Eric. So in Martin County, I'm looking for it. I don't have it exactly, but I have it in my head. The average salary for the government workers is around $80,000. The average salary for the everyday citizen in Martin County is around $50,000. Why are those government, like you said, there's so many different government positions that are being filled.
We have to attract the best. We have to have the best.
That's what they say, and that's why they need to raise it to fulfill the same levels as Palm Beach or Miami-Dade County, which are so much larger.
2,000 employees for 2025. We went from 1,700 to 1,900 in a matter of 4 years. Another 200 people that we've added to staff at an average of $80,000 plus government retirement, plus everything else that goes along with the position.
And a 4% growth in population. That's the crazy part. Our government locally keeps growing, and that's why we need a DOGE locally. We need the DOGE with the state. I love, love, love what Governor DeSantis is doing.
It'd be great if we had some county commissioners that actually believed in the same thing. You know, I saw an interview the other day that it completely explained Doug Smith to me. And nothing personal, Doug, but you spent too much time in office. And what happens when people are in power, their minds actually change. There's actually a physical change in portions of the brain that control that sense the power. You think differently when you have power, and you become willing to protect the institution that you are part of the power in. And that's exactly, when I heard that,
sure
I'm
feels like
that
that.
was Doug. I said he would protect the institution because the almighty institution was right at every turn. And you're attacking us. You want to get rid of MPOs. You don't like dogs. You don't like cats. You don't blah, 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 blah. To hell with it. You know, how about some local term limits? All right, 8 years and you're gone. 8 years and you're gone. Okay? We don't need a consistency. What we need is a different type of land planning, a different type of county administration. We need to reduce the size of our county, and we need to free things up a little bit and quit being so damned restrictive with everything that we do.
Well, and with term limits, it brings in that fresh blood. And, you know, there is consistency because 3 seats are turned over every 4 years. 2 seats are turned over every.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
So you're still
2 other years.
Yeah,
So
you're still pulling a
every 2
12
years is an election. So nobody gets turned over all at once. So you do have some consistency. Look at the city of Stewart. Wow, what a change that has been with 3 different commissioners.
I know. That's awesome.
That's what can happen when we vote, get engaged, and know who we're voting for, and if they're going to be a public servant, or if they're going to be part of the cog in the machine of bureaucracy.
Boss Collins. I almost want to go buy one of his T-shirts and wear it around just for the hell of it, to see what kind of response I get with a MAGA hat.
Well, you should. I know he'd appreciate that.
Good
So, but there's so much to do here, and I just, I wanted to cover just DOGE in general.
Well, it opens up so many things. I mean, let's start looking at some of the contracts that some of the commissioners have had, and the way their votes on land planning and developments have changed, And there's just...
Oh, how about all the special studies they have to have done for different projects? It always seems to be, the same people that they hire to do a study. These studies, they make a lot of money on them. They tend to not make any decisions unless they want to, but without these studies. There's a lot of things that DOGE could possibly uncover for us.
I think so.
I do too.
I'd like an opportunity to try. So, Mr. Governor, if you're listening, I'm happy to take the lead. I'd love to meet with your people to talk about the possibilities. And if there's a county commissioner or a school board member that would like to sit down and talk about the possibilities, I can think of a few people, I'm sure you can too, that would be really good at something like this. And I have a computer science background. If I can get some raw data, I'm happy to sign non-disclosure agreements, be a part-time employee of the county or whatever it takes to get me under the umbrella of non-disclosure, and work like Elon's doing to try to take a different look at those data sets to see if we can't find some things to actually make things run better.
And I'm pretty sure that we can.
I think that we could.
How our budget has increased that dramatically in 4 years is beyond me, and it does. And we're the ones that have to reach into our pockets to cover it. The Martin County government is just like the U.S. government. It's funded by us. And every penny that they use is coming out of our pockets. So, Eric, you're good with computers. That's a good point there. That's what we need, is somebody with that AI. So it's not a personal vendetta against anybody. It's just
I want my government to be as limited and as small as it can.
Yes.
And as the owner of that government, I want the opportunity to find these types of things out, and there is no reason why I can't get this information. You ask for this information, though, they come back with all of these FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request fees that they want to give you, because they now have outsourced the Freedom of Information Acts. I know the Sheriff's Department has, and now there's a private company that's doing those. They wanted $75 to give me a basic arrest report on something that wasn't available online. It's ridiculous. The county, if I started asking for flowcharts that don't exist, they would calculate the man hours at $80,000 per man year,
right.
And the number of hours then would be calculated plus
But they all work for us. We already paid for that report because we're taxpayers that live here, and
Yeah.
they use the public records request if they don't want to fulfill it as
That's
the
exactly
cost
it.
to deter you.
Yeah.
Lots to be done here.
Look, Martin has done a really good job on some open transparency. I mean, you look at the overlays that are done with the GIS system.
Yes.
Very nice. They're taxing overlays, very nice systems. These things open the government up to the people and give us the ability to sit in our pajamas and bathrobes and look at what we need to look at if we want to see it. But the information that's critical to the operation is well guarded. And it's candied and it's glossed over. It's not presentable in a way that we could, as a group, even sit down and have enough information to say yes, the money is being spent right, or no, the money is not being spent right.
Even public notices, why aren't they on the website? You have social media, you have websites, but they put them in the newspaper that very few people subscribe to anymore. Last I heard, I think in Martin County it's down to 15,000 out of a residency of 165,000. Open it up and put it on your website too. That's free.
Well, why not
You know?
NCTV? Why in the hell do we have a TV station?
It's only for the commission. We tried to put a Christmas boat parade on MCTV, and they wouldn't because we weren't a nonprofit. So, and it was
Thank
for the
you.
community.
Yeah.
I pay for it. We've got taxpayers, or our taxes in it. But yes, I agree 100%. It's one of those special projects. I do like it to watch the commission meetings and the school board meetings, but there's other shows on there. Why are you picking those shows and not others? I mean, we're all paying for this.
Yeah, I think if it was for the meetings, we could find a way to do that on the web a lot easier.
And they
than
just
having
need to be,
have a
they need to
full-time
be live
staff
streamed.
and all the equipment for a TV station.
And I will say hats off to Martin County. It's one of the few municipalities I know of that puts their county commission, most of their county commission and administrator emails online for people just to look through it. That's a rarity, and hats off to
There's
that.
good points to it, but
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of areas.
There's always room for improvement.
If we could find $80 million, all
Yes.
right, we could walk in, we could find $80 million.
Instead of raising taxes, let's how about lower taxes, and maybe we can get
Thank
a
you
rebate
very
locally.
much.
How nice would that be? So, well, all right, folks, we've covered a lot today, and why DOGE isn't just some bureaucratic buzzword, but a real solution that needs to be in play at the federal, state, and local levels. If we want smarter governance, better accountability, and policies that actually work, we can't just sit back and hope for the best. So what's next? Well, that's up to all of us. Staying informed, asking the tough questions, and making sure our leaders aren't just talking the talk, but actually walking the walk. This is Casey Ingram, and if this conversation got you thinking, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts. Because the more we push for change, the closer we get to actually seeing it happen. Until next time, stay sharp, stay engaged, and maybe, just maybe, let's make DOGE a household name.